Hola guys and girls, and welcome back to the Pincer Mania. We are in the 6th part, and I know it was quite some time till the last part, but yeah, we not think about that. We think about the current episode, in which I got 3 great debaters here, right here, fighting for their topics. First off, we got the founder of PPPL, coach of the Norwich Skitty. We got the Donphanatic right here.
What's up, guys? It's me, Donphanatic. I don't know what else I can say, because that's my intro. But we're gonna win. We're gonna win.
Sorry, I stole the intro. But yeah, okay. Next up, we got from the GBA, one of the OG members of the GBA, coach of the San Jose Sharpedos. Tom, say hello to people.
Hello to people. How you doing?
There we go. And as last, we got from the GPC, actually an admin of the GPC this season, coach of the Crawford Crabhammers, Gareth, the guy with Megaladias.
It's Gareth, also as PewPewPugh, and I like cheesing wins with Megalatias because I'm bad at the game.
There we go. So, for all which are new to this series, we have 3 topics right here which we will argue about. Each of these 3 cool people has a mon chosen for each topic, and will defend and fight for it why this was the best choice in that topic. And yeah, the winner of each round will be decided by me. We'll get a point. If there's a tie, it will be split round. If not, we just have a regular winner, which is of course great as usual. But yeah, enough of the talk. Let's start with round 1, which is: what is the best ground type in League format? And we start off with Jack. Tell us what your pick is.
Right, so I actually understand it was non-Uber ground type, otherwise I would have gone with Lando, obviously. But I decided to go with quite a staple in League format. He normally goes pretty quick. I've gone for Excadrill. I was also considering Crocodile, but I decided to pick Excadrill because when I actually thought about it, he has got quite a lot of stuff going for him. So he's got a big 135 base attack, so obviously you can hit hard even if you're kind of like a bulky set or without a boosting item like Life Orb, which is obviously always nice. Obviously ground typing with Stab Earthquake is always powerful, and there aren't many switch-ins, so that's nice. I think I worked it out, he's got only a lower attack stat than Rhyperior and Landoferian for ground types, which is quite nice. He's quite versatile. Obviously you can run Life Orb, Scarf, Choice Band, Bulky Set, Assault Vest, Setup, and obviously you've also got Sand Rush to make it an excellent late game sweeper, or Mold Breaker just to make it a terrifying wall breaker. So you really can run it in different ways. It also works pretty well with either Adamant Nature or Jolly Nature. Sometimes you need the speed, sometimes you don't, so it's versatile in that sense as well. It hasn't got the best sort of coverage, but it's got good enough coverage to make it good at what it does. Obviously it gets Earthquake, Stab in Iron Head, something like X-Scissor, Rock Slide, Brick Break, does get other moves like Aerial Ace. Poison Jab is made a bit redundant by X-Scissor and Iron Head, because it kind of gets the same coverage, but otherwise it's pretty solid. Obviously it also gets Rapid Spin, which is a major thing in League format, because if you don't have any kind of hazard removal, you tend to get hazard stacked against, which I'm slowly finding out myself, so that isn't fun. And obviously he's a pretty good spinner because 1, he resists Stealth Rocks, and 2, he's immune to Toxic Spikes, so he can switch in safely and get rid of them. Obviously he's a bit susceptible to any Ghost switch-ins to block it, but offensively he's got enough to take on some Ghosts, so that's all fine. He also gets the holy move that is Stealth Rocks, very important in this meta, so he's a good option to use that on. You can use it on offensive or defensive sets, so it's nice to get it up when you're kind of predicting a switch, so that's always good. He's immune to Electric and Poison. Poison's becoming a bit more of a common type in League because obviously Fairies are a thing, and Electric, obviously it stops Volt switching shenanigans, so that's fun. Gets access to Sword Stance and Hone Claws, 2 pretty good boosting moves. Obviously, I think Hone Claws is a bit redundant when it has Sword Stance, but once you see an Excadrill gets +2, it's pretty scary. And then the final thing I put down is kind of like a nice niche. It gets Magnet Rise, so it can cover its ground weakness if you don't want an Air Balloon on it. So that was why I picked Excadrill as my favourite ground type for League format.
Okay, there we go. The Spinning Mold Excadrill. Next up is Tom. What did you pick and why?
So, I went with something a little bit more versatile, something that is somewhat overlooked, but definitely a threat, being Garchomp. Now, Garchomp is, in most cases, it's like typing, and the fact that it can run so many different sets based on the week, based on your matchup, does certainly help it. Being base 104 speed, allowing it to outpace all of the pesky, 102 speed, allowing it to outpace all of the pesky base 100s. It can run a multitude of different sets. You got your support sets, you got your tank sets, you got your offensive sets to be even go choice bandage, choice scarf. It runs, I believe, 13 of 16 offensive type coverage moves, not including hidden powers. And like you said before, it has Stealth Rock. So with that in mind, Garchomp, it can be an offensive threat. It can be defensive. It can stop things with its Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin. And I mean, overall, it's nothing to sleep on because it can take any offense, stop that, and on the other end, kind of pressure you with its typing. Dragon being very powerful, Ground also being very powerful, and anything like Steel, Poison to hit the fairies, Swords Dance to set up on. You get the whole idea. Garchomp, best ground type.
There we go. The Land Shark with the many utility and offensive things he can do. And as last, Gareth, of course, what did you pick and why?
Alright, so my choice was sort of like an unusual one, we'll say, in Nidoqueen. It's the main reason that I think it's a very potent ground type is the fact that it's cheap for what it brings. It's got brilliant versatility both defensively and offensively. Its defensive stats are pretty balanced with a high HP. And not to mention its attack stats are 92 and 75, which on paper aren't too great, but paired up with sheer force, a good move pool, and a life orb, it's pretty damn scary. It's got access to priority if you really want to be cheeky with it and run Sucker Punch. It's the only ground type, aside from the other Nido, to get 2 forms of hazards in Stealth Rocks and Toxic Spikes, obviously. For a bulky mon as well, it's got a decent speed tier. It can sort of creep some of the faster defensive mons or even some slower offensive mons. And also it's possibly the best mon to run a resist berry on. It doesn't have a quad weakness, and often things that would OHKO it won't do too much damage with the resist berry on it. So I just think its defensive power and its offensive power makes it a very potent threat in the league format.
Okay, there we go. The defensive, offensive monster Nidoqueen, that is. That was the first part of this round, just telling you what they picked and why. Now we go into the more interesting part, starting to talk about why their pick is superior over the other ones. And yeah, let's go from the start again. And yeah, Jack, why is Excadrill better than the other two?
Well, to be honest, I'm going to be honest, I did want to pick Garchomp, but I got a snipe to it. So trying to think of something to talk bad about it is going to be quite hard. I mean, obviously, it's got the 4 times weakness to Ice. While that obviously is a problem, because obviously things can run Hidden Power Ice and OHKO it, or, nearly OHKO it for a bit of support. People can prep for it quite easy in that sense, and obviously you do have the occasional Ice Shard user, especially Mamoswine, but unfortunately, ice coverage isn't the most common unless it's an actual ice type or, water type, or the odd occasional thing like Nidoqueen. But I would say that, it's quite easy to prep for offensively. You can use a Scarf to quite easily outspeed it. Obviously, Choice Scarf on it's pretty good, but I think it does hinder it, especially with being able to switch into Dragon moves if it's locked in. For Fairy, you can switch into something with Levitate or Flying type if he is using ground moves. So I know it gets coverage as well, like Stone Edge to hit flying things and Poison Jab to hit fairies, but I think it's quite easy to play around in that sense if you do decide to bring it Choice. And obviously the Ice weakness, again, I can't emphasize that enough. I think it's easy enough to check offensively, maybe not so much defensively, but I still think it's not quite as hard hitting as Excadrill. Especially with Mold Breaker, that means, you have a lot less switch-ins. Literally only flying types can switch in then. Levitate doesn't matter. Garchomp does suffer with that a bit. So that's why I think I put Excadrill a bit higher. He doesn't have that quad weakness, and he has the chance to hit Levitate mons and play around with choice items a bit more.
Okay, that was for Excadrill vs Garchomp. Seems you got nothing for Nidoqueen.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about Nidoqueen. I forgot about Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen, I prefer Nidoking. I'm a bit more of an offensive player than a defensive player, so in that sense, I don't really look into it too much. I mean, obviously, it has got quite a few weaknesses. Obviously, it's weak to Psychic, Water. I've got to go through these now. Ground. Actually, I'll say a few weaknesses. They're probably the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. But, you know, it's not quite as hard-hitting as Excadrill. It's not as hard-hitting as its brethren, Nidoking. I just personally don't like it too much. I can't really talk too much crap about it because it is quite decent. But I'd still obviously think offensively it's pretty good, but I still think Excadrill is probably better at the offensive side. Maybe not so much the defensive, but, you know, I think as an offensive player, Excadrill would suit me a bit more. So that's why I think it's better than them two.
Okay, there we go. Tom, what do you got to defend Garchomp from these accusations from Jack's side? And yeah, why it's better than Nidoking?
You know, Jack is pretty strong to talk, considering that he was going to pick Lando I, which, I'm sorry, what is it, quad week to? I don't know its typing. I think I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, right, quad week to Ice, but you're bashing my pick, right? That makes sense.
I did also say I wanted Garchomp though.
Oh, true, but you can't bring up quad Ice and not look inward, or take that mirror and reflect inward a little bit. Anyway, Garchomp, good. Excadrill, not really convinced. It's outside of Sandrush, you know, you have the Scarf option, right? Or you have a Sword Dance set, or you're kind of binded to its brethren, being Hippowdon or Tyranitar, or some kind of manual setup with Sand. Now, that being said, cool, that's all fine and dandy, but for most part, when you're prepping for a league match, you're seeing that the other team has Excadrill plus Sand, or Excadrill by itself, which usually leads you to think, okay, well, it's going to be either Scarf without Sand, or it's going to be Sand Rush with Sand. Now, you want to say that Garchomp's easier to prep for. How easy is it to prep for that? You know, like we've seen countless times that it's good, but is it good enough? Is it that much more prolific than Garchomp, where it can, you know, at least go with Sword Stance, or it can go the Sub-Salic set. It can do a lot of other things. Now, when you look at Nidoqueen, I think speed's a big hindrance. Obviously, the Life Orb Sheer Force set, the fact that it's bulky with the base 90 HP, 87, 85, and its respective defenses. It's good, but it's just not there in the speed category. You know, with the power ceiling here now because of Gen 5 especially, and then into Gen 6, it having just those defenses to back you up on top of, you know, a Life Orb plus Sheer Force, or just Sheer Force on its own, isn't quite enough. Don't really think it's that good, but I do think it is better than Nidoking, so I do respect his choice.
Okay, there we go. These are the arguments of Tom. And yeah, Gareth, why is the Queen superior over the Dragon and the Mole?
Well, it's named Nidoqueen for a reason, and it is just because it's the royalty of the ground types. I had to make that fun. Yeah, starting off with Excadrill, a lot of people say that it's a good spinner. I disagree. I think it's a decent mon in the format, but it's only got access to Rapid Spin. You don't want to bring a hazard setting or removing Excadrill week in, week out. Offensively as well, as Tom said very well, very one-dimensional. Its coverage is predictable. It often brings Earthquake, Iron Head, maybe Stone Edge, maybe X's, or whatever other coverage move it wants to run, but it's very easy to prep for. Also, once again, heavily dependent on weather, so can be played around in that way. Garchomp, however, I can understand why it was put up to this. The thing that mainly keeps it down, as Jack said prior, was that it's got a quad weakness, which often means that you can offensively try and check it. It's also, I mean, the only other thing that I can really take a shot at is that it's more expensive than Nidoqueen is. But for an offensive sweeper, it might do with a bit more speed to be able to stay relevant, especially with a lot of 110s being favoured, like your Latis and things like that, which can easily come in and revenge kill it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Nidoqueen is basically got the offensive presence of the other two, but with a bit more defensive presence.
Okay, there we go. Was the second part of this round. Now just for the third part. If anyone got any last words, does want to throw out another argument or defend his mon from any arguments thrown at him, And yeah, Jack, any last words on Escadrille or the other two?
These guys are saying it's quite easy to prep for the mole. It's only easy to say that if you have things to stop it in the first place, especially in draft format. Obviously, you might think there's a lot of things, for example, grass types, but outside Mega Venusaur, Tangrowth, what other bulky grass types are there you could use to potentially stop it? Otherwise, I get what they're saying, why it's easy to prep for, but it's only easy to prep for if you have things that can take it on in the first place. So that's what I'll say about Escadrille.
Okay, last words from you, Tom. What do you got to say about Garchomp or the other two?
Garchomp may be weak to ice, but I think that just its bulk, kind of its bulk. How many real powerful ice types are there in the meta outside of Mamoswine, which I think is highly overrated? There's not that many, especially with Ice Shard. You know, it's you have Weavile, you have Mamoswine, but in the league format, you're not gonna specifically look to keep a Garchomp in on either of those, and if they come in on a revenge kill or after a revenge kill, you're gonna get out of there. And I'm, you know, if assuming you're a good player, not like me, you're gonna have checks for those too. The Garchomp is just a kind of a keystone for a team if you plan on, you know, making a very solid draft team.
Okay, there we go. And last in this round, Gareth, anything got to say about Nidoqueen or the last two, which is not said already?
Yeah, Tom mentioned the speed tiers, and I agree, Nidoqueen isn't fast enough to be a potential fast, speedy sweeper, but that's not what it's meant to do. It's there to take a hit and just kill something straight out after that, so it fills a certain role, and it does that role very well.
Okay, then these are all the arguments. Now it's up to me to decide who will win this round. And yeah, definitely not an easy task like in every episode. But I gotta say, from the arguments and everything like that, I want to give this point to Tom and Garchomp. Escadrille, you were all correct. It's quite one-dimensional. It's a decent spinner. But in move pool, it doesn't even get Stone Edge. Even if Gareth did want to give it to that, it has to rely on Rock Slide. But yeah, Garchomp is just I would say it's on par with the versatility on Nidoqueen, or Nidoqueen can even do more things. But I was missing kind of the arguments for Gareth. He was like kind of just allowing the other people to. Take down Nidoqueen's bulk, which is definitely there. Like, it's a very good stop to, there's a decent, decent typing for stopping some mons, like fighting types, for example. Defensive Nidoqueen can take these on very easily. I was kind of missing that part of the arguments, like, you were just kind of agreeing that Nidoqueen isn't that bulky, even though I would say it is. But yeah, Tom did the best job in, getting rid of the arguments versus Garchomp with the 4x weakness to ice, which is a fairly easy type to get resistance to. Like, every team has a bulky water, every team has usually a bulky steel type, because basically close to every steel type is bulky. But yeah, that's why this first round will go to Tom. Congrats to that.
Boo.
So, this was round 1, which was best ground type. Now just skip over right to round 2, which is more of a prediction round and kind of catching on the Sun and Moon hype, which is going on right now because the games are coming out in about a month. We got the round, which is the best confirmed Alola form in League format. And we start with Jack last time. Let's start with the winner of last round, Tom. What is your Alola form of choice? And we are back. We had some technical difficulties. Tom did disconnect kind of with his microphone. He is, of course, still happy that he won last round, if you're wondering where he was. There he is. And yeah, we already got about second round. Tom, you can start. What is your pick in the best Alola form topic?
So my choice is going to be, very speculative, Alolan Ninetales. Now, Alolan Ninetales, based just on its typing alone, I think it's more viable than just regular Ninetales. Now, have we gotten a confirmation on its abilities yet or no?
Yeah, it's Snowcloak.
Yeah.
Wow, that's one of them. Stupid. Okay. Hopefully there's a better not Snowcloak ability. Anyway, just based on its typing is what I'm going to go on. This is really all I'm going to debate. Fairy, Ice. Now, Ice, on one end, as we argued last point about Garchomp, is a good offensive move. Typing, I should say. So you have Ice Beam, you have Blizzard, you can go with Icy Wind if we're talking doubles here, because it's his Pokemon. And then Fairy. Now, I just checked its moveset, it doesn't get Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast. Hopefully it gets one or the other, because if it doesn't and it's a fairy type, that'd make no sense to me. Or a more powerful fairy move should come into play. But I think that just based on its typing and the fact that even like prior, you see it on like Sun teams, or you'll see it somehow interlaced with, you know, the higher tiers, UU, OU, what have you. I think it'll be better than it's just its normal fire type prospect. Granted, you know, this quad steel type weakness is going to suck, but yeah, the changing of its entire typing is going to be, I think, a benefit to the Mon as a whole. So not just taking the typing, the Alolan form, but Ninetales in general, I think it's going to boost up its usage, boost up its popularity, because it's going to be like a whole new Mon, except it's not a new Mon, it's an old Mon that just looks more white and majestic. It's majestic, boys. That's my argument.
There we go. The Majestic Fox, which is Alolan Ninetales, is Tom's pick. Next up, Gareth, what was your choice and why?
So I decided to go with Alolan Raichu. Raichu in and of itself is sort of an established Mon in League. Everybody loves the fast electric type, and adding on the Psychic attack to it can make it more potent offensively. It can sort of deal with those grass poison types, like your Mega Venusaurs, for example. In its description, they mention a lot that it says that it gathers its psychic power and things like that, which to me sort of hints that it might get a few stat boosts, potentially in maybe special attack and defense, because a lot of psychic types do have high special attack and special defense. But this is all speculation, of course. It's already got a decent enough move pool as it is, and maybe with the new typing and sort of its new form, it might get more to that. There's no real way of knowing. Again, Raichu is quite an established Mon, so I think that its speed and its just overall versatility offensively can potentially make it a decent threat.
Okay, there we go. The already established Mon with additional typing in Psychic is Raichu. Next up, Jack, what is your pick? And yeah.
Okay, so my Alolan form, which I've picked for this round, is Alolan Exeggutor. Now, obviously it was one of the first sort of Alolan forms released, so we kind of know a bit more about it, which is pretty good. We know it becomes a Dragon type as well as Grass, so Grass Dragon instead of Grass Psychic. And the Dragon type defensively actually helps out pretty well. It gets 3-4 times resistances, which is Water, Grass, and Electric. It resists ground as it would normally, and it also brings its fire weakness to like a neutral. And it also reduces the bug weakness from 4 times to 2 times. Obviously it is now 4 times weak to ice, but as we've discussed with Garchomp, not too many ice types running around. Obviously it gets the ability Frisk, which is really useful in League, obviously because then you can know what kind of set, or you can at least try and figure out what kind of set your opponent's bringing if you know what item it's holding. So if it's Choice Scarf, you know you're not going to outspeed. If it's Choice Band, you can calc it and know you're not going to live, for example. So that's quite a nice kind of ability, and it also gets a move Skill Swap, which will work quite nicely with it, because once you've used Frisk, you don't really need it again. So if you can swap it for something like a, I don't know, Thick Fat from Mega Venusaur, for example, that'd be a kind of a nice little niche you have going on there. It's got loads of offensive moves. It's got Leaf Storm, lots of other strong grass type moves. Obviously it gets the new move Dragon Hammer, so it gives it nice stab. Obviously we don't know much about Dragon Hammer yet. I'm kind of hoping it's a stronger version of Dragon Claw, or a bit like Wood Hammer, but obviously just Dragon instead. It does also get a bit of coverage, which I didn't realise I actually got in Ancient Power, Low Kick, Sludge Bomb, and I'm hoping to God that it gets Draco Meteor, because can you imagine a Palm Tree using Draco Meteor? It also gets really good defense moves. Obviously it gets Healing and Synthesis and Moonlight, Leech Seed, Giga Drain, also gets Infestation, which can make it a kind of annoying trapping Mon. It gets Reflect, Light Screen, Block, Sleep Powder, Stun Spore, obviously Toxic, which most things kind of get. Also gets access to Trick Room, and looking at it, it's like 30-something foot. I'm expecting it to be slow, so Trick Room offensive, Alolan Exeggutor could be kind of cool. And it actually gets Swords Dance, which I didn't know either, and Curse, so it has got setup potential. And the most important point of all, it can explode.
There we go, the Exploding Palm Tree, which is Alolan Exeggutor. Now we heard every of these 3 picks, now starting with the counter-argument round. Let's start with Tom. Why is the Fox better than the other 2?
Well, I guess we could all agree that Jack knows how to use Smogon effectively, just reading off, you know,
I did not use Smogon at all.
Okay. I'm gonna pick on Alolan tall neck first. What was your argument before about Quad Ice? And, which I understand for Garchomp, but tell me how good Tropius is in the metagame. Do we ever see that get drafted?
No.
So, I don't think it's going to be that effective. I mean, if it's going to be slow, like you had mentioned, sure, it could be effective in Trick Room, but unless we get, Trick Room ability or the Trick Room Stone, not really seeing Trick Room be as successful as it even has been now. It's good, but it's not good enough. As good as it needs to be as compared to weather, stuff like that. And then talking about Alolan Raichu, I think there's more potential in that being good. I think especially when you mix in terrains, kind of getting a better feel for the electric terrain and all those other whatever else they want to add in. But definitely think that Alolan Ninetales is just the best option based on typing. I was even thinking when you guys were talking about, obviously if it's base 100, it stays base 100, then that's going to help out just in the metagame in its own right. But having a higher special defense stat will allow it to live hits if it's on the slower side, getting hit by things from like Latios, any of the Latis for that matter, like Mega Gardevoir. Just hard-hitting special attackers. It could live those hits and then hit back maybe a little harder. Who knows? Anyway, definitely think that Alolan Ninetales is better than both of those picks. So, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Gareth, what has the Surfing Mouse what the other two don't have?
Well, we brought it up prior with Garchomp, and Tom mentioned about Executor, but quad weaknesses are a big thing to take into consideration. Alolan Ninetales, catch this Bullet Punch. Alolan Executor, catch any Ice type because it's slow enough to be outsped. We'll start with Alolan Executor. I agree with what Jack said in thinking that it'll be slow, probably get an attack boost. But again, a slow Mon with the quad weakness is just asking to be OHKO'd by any Pokemon with decent coverage. Going on to Ninetales, I do think that Ice Fairy is an interesting typing offensively, but defensively it's very let down. The only thing that it can sort of deal with is just pure Dragon, mainly because of the Fairy being immune to that. When you think about the things that Fairy would otherwise resist, like Bug, or I can't think of anything else off the top of my head because I'm...
Dark.
Well, Dark, for example, but anything that's physical on Ninetales' low defense stat can still do a lot of damage to it. But yeah, there's not really all too much I can say about Alolan Ninetales, and again, not too much you can say about either of them because there's a lot yet to be confirmed, so that's all I have to say.
Okay, there we go. And as last Jack, Executor got a bit of
bashing. That's fine. I'm ready to bash Tom back because all the points he made about Executor fall exactly back with Ninetales as well. You're saying about the 4 times weakness to Ice. You're 4 times weak to Steel. You're saying that I could be heavily dependent on Trick Room. Obviously, you could be heavily dependent on Hail as well. And I know you're saying that Trick Room isn't very common, or it's quite hard to pull off in this meta. What Hail setter does anyone ever use apart from Mega Abomasnow, if that? Obviously I know it can function without Hail, but you're not going to be able to land as many Blizzards. You're also not going to be able to take full effect of its ability Snowcloak. So your points you made against my Executor, I'm just going to throw straight back at you because your Pokemon's in the same window as mine. I'm going to hazard a guess that it also wouldn't be as hard hitting as Executor or as bulky. I accept that Ice Fairy is probably a better typing, but otherwise I don't see how you can throw an argument at me for quad weakness, and I forgot what else I said, but if it applies to your Mon as well. With regards to Raichu, I just want to punch it even more because it looks even cuter. Obviously I think the Psychic type will give it a nice little bit of like offensive presence. It does also make it weak to knockoff, which is pretty prevalent in any Pokemon meta at the moment. Sure, it might be faster than things that have knockoff, but Raichu itself is quite frail, and I understand we don't know what's happened to its stats at all, but Raichu isn't the hardest thing to kill. It's also not the hardest hitting. So while I think Psychic will give it a nice offensive presence, it won't help it with its defensive kind of presence, because obviously electric types, while Raichu isn't the bulkiest thing, electric's only weak to ground. With Psychic he also becomes weak to dark, Ghost and Bug. So it does make him a bit more of an easy target to take down, especially with things like Knockoff and Pursuit, and especially if he's planning on using Volt Switch, you can quite easily Pursuit Trap this thing. So that's my sort of reasoning as to why I don't think they're as good as Executor.
Okay, there we go. These are the counter arguments of each of the round. Now we just go into the last round to see if anyone wants to counter something with God said. And yeah, Tom, anything you want to say about Ninetales or about the other two?
I never made one point about Hail because Hail is stupid. That's all.
Okay, Hail is stupid. Gareth, what you got to say about Raichu or the other two?
I forgot to mention when I talked about Raichu that it does get a new ability making use of the electric terrain, which I think could be an interesting thing to consider. And aside from that, the other two, to me, seem more like one-trick ponies that aren't going to do all too much. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, there you go. Raichu, and as last, Jack, what do you got to say about the giant palm tree?
Vote for Coconut Head. That's all.
It got the coconut head.
Yes.
There we go.
Shout out to Mr. Classified.
Oh my god.
Okay, now it's...
Yes, thank you.
There we go. At least the beta like the reference of each other. But okay, now it's part for me to decide where the point goes this round. And okay, this time I think I got an easier choice than last time, because in this round I want to give this point to Gareth and his Raichu.
Hey.
I want to say yes, Executor is like, it's like quad weaknesses on offensive mons are like not that bad, because they're not built to take hits either way. But if you have an Executor, which is probably gonna be slow, like let's be real, even if there's like gonna be stat changes we all assume will happen, Executor, like you said yourself, is not looking like a very fast mon. So if it really wants to be run offensively, it probably has to be either a lot of bulk, so it can lift the slapped on HP ices or ice beams or whatever. For Ninetales, for Ninetales versus Raichu, that is, I think Raichu is more versatile than Ninetales. Ninetales have the very interesting typing in Ice and Fairy, a very offensive typing we did not see yet. Defensively, yeah, it sucks, but that's basically because Ice sucks in general as a defensive typing. But yeah, the ability Snow Cloak is probably useless in most scenarios, but we don't know what it gets as a hidden ability. But that goes for all mons to be fair. And at last, I like Raichu the most because it's the most versatile. I kind of missed that Gareth did not go into like all the event moves Pikachu gets, because Alolan Raichu will get them as well, from what you can assume for now, like extreme speed and all this good stuff. But yeah, that's why I want to give this point to Raichu and Gareth for the second round. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There we go. So far we got a 1-1 tie between Tom and Gareth. Let's see if the last round can we can go with a full tie if Jack can win this round, or if one of the two can get the title of champion for this Pincer Mania. But yeah, let's start with the third round, which is none other than what is the worst fully evolved fairy type in League format, which is not the Den. There we go. The Den was out of the question because the Den it's too bad. Like we can't someone pick
the Tireberry Keep Pouch. Let's go.
But okay, we already had Tom starting, we already had Jack starting, so let's hear out Gareth. What is in your opinion, the worst fully evolved fairy type in League format?
So my choice, I went with Mr. Mime. I think that Mr. Mime has the potential to be a fantastic mon, but it lacks basically everything in its stats. It's only got base 90 speed, I believe, which for a mon which stats make it look more like an offensive threat, and its move pool is complete garbage. Its special attack isn't strong enough for it to be a threat on, like, if it's running a Scarf set or even a fast Life Orb. Even though it does get access to Nasty Plot, it will very, very easily be outsped and killed by anything that's got any move. It's got Paper Thin, both HP and defenses. I believe it's 40 and 35 respectively. I can't remember, I don't have them up at the moment. But it's
40 and 65.
40 and 65, alright. Sorry. It's basically the epitome of wasted potential, because it's got a good supportive moveset that it can't pull off because it doesn't have the speed, it doesn't have the bulk, it doesn't have anything.
There we go, Mr. Mime, the poor guy which does not have anything. Let's go with Jack. what was your pick and why?
Okay, so I think I've got this round in the bag, to be honest, guys. My worst fairy type, I believe, in League format, is going to be Carbink. It's weak to very common sort of offensive and bulky types. It's weak to water, grass, ground, and actually 4 times weak to steel. I'll admit it's got very good defense stats, 150 in both defenses, but it's got an absolutely pitiful base 50 HP. So the fact that its HP is so low kind of cancels out its high defenses. I think I did one calc where I think Life or Garchomp, offensive Garchomp, can still one-hit KO a max defense Carbink. Now I obviously know Garchomp's pretty high tier, but that's still pretty poor for something that's meant to be defensive based. Especially for a Pokemon that's meant to be defensive, it doesn't get any reliable recovery. It's a fairy. Why it doesn't get Moonlight, I don't know. It's so pathetically weak on the offense. It's only got base 50 in attack and special attack. It's just set up fodder for any kind of bulky offensive mon. Probably even any kind of average offensive mon. I think even the Mr. Mime could probably set up on a Carbink. So there's one for you there, Gareth. It's got absolutely terrible offensive coverage. Outside it stabs, which it gets a whole abundance of moves on, stab-wise, so fairy and rock type moves. But outside of that, it only gets Psychic, Earth Power, and Gyro Ball as other kind of typing moves, which is terrible. I'll admit it does have a decent-ish move pool for support, but again, its terrible speed stat of 50 means it probably just dies before actually doing anything. And one kind of fun fact, it actually has a base stat total of 500, which is ridiculous, despite how terrible it is. But one saving grace is it gets Stealth Rock. That's about it for Carbink. It's just terrible. I don't even know why it's a Pokemon. Diancie outclasses it in every way.
Okay, there we go with Carbink, the terrible, terrible tiny rock thing. And as last, Tom, what is, in your opinion, the worst fully evolved fairy type in League format?
Alright, so if you at home haven't been able to track, we aren't repeating any picks that we make amongst each other. So, leaving me leftovers, I have, I'm going to argue Slurpuff. Now, Slurpuff in League format, this is the direction I'm going to focus when I argue this. Slurpuff in League format is, for all intents and purposes, the least drafted, fully evolved fairy outside of Mr. Mime. Now, say it is drafted, hypothetically, right? What does it do? It does two things decently, kind of. Belly Drum, which Azumarill has down on pat. You shouldn't really bother doing that with Slurpuff. And then Calm Mind, which I've also seen. Now, outside of that, its stats kind of, it's bulky-ish, but 82, 86, 75 is not good enough to wall anything, even with investment. So you're not going to run it bulky. It has support moves, but it's not good enough to do anything of that nature. Like it can run Drain Punch. It can run your offensive moves. It run Aromatherapy, Calm Mind, Cotton Guard, stuff like that. But Heal Bell too, if you don't want to go Aromatherapy. But besides that, it's not good. It doesn't, for being a pure fairy type, there are so many things that are just better and more effective, and don't even waste your time with Slurpuff. I'd even argue that even Mr. Mime in a tier setting, I think Mr. Mime would be more effective, and Carbink at least can go sturdy Custap with Explosion after setting up screens, or a screen, according to Jack, before it dies. So that's my argument for Slurpuff.
Okay, there we go. Slurpuff, the crappy cupcake of the higher tiers. But yeah, that was the first part. And yeah, let's start talking about the other picks. So, Gareth, why is Mr. Mime worse than the other two, or why are the other two better than Mr. Mime?
Well, all of these mons that we've mentioned all sort of fit into a niche. They all have very specific roles that they can or can't do very well in this situation. But Carbink, we'll start off with Carbink. It can set up rocks freely. If your opponent doesn't have hazard removal, you just run steady and you set up the rocks. It's just that easy. And you can, as Tom said, run Custap Explosion. And even if you want to be cheeky, you can maybe go for a Carmine sweep, because it does get Carmine. And it also gets Sharpen, and so Sharpen Explosion is the thing, I guess. Slurpuff, yes, I do agree that the Belly Drum set is outclassed by Azumarill, but it's still something to consider. It can, if somebody doesn't have a team that's prepared for it or doesn't have a team that has, say, Steel Priority or a good Fairy Resist, they are pretty much in trouble with that. It also gets Calm-Mind, as you said. While that set isn't great, it's still something that it can do, and it gets access to things like Wish, making it a potential supported mon. With the Pure Fairy typing, it makes it okay for the price that it is. So, in comparison, Mr. Mime, it does have a niche, but it can't fit that niche as well as the other two.
Okay, there we go with Mr. Mime. And Gareth's point of view, let's hear out Jack. Why is Carving the worst out of these three?
Right, so time to big up my boy Mr. Mime. I know you're saying that I have a usable ability in Sturdy. Mr. Mime gets a very nice ability of Technician. I believe you get good coverage as well, so things like Shockwave, Magical Leaf. There's probably some other moves I'm forgetting. You know, you get a nice little boost, that gives it a nice little niche there. You have actually got offensive presence. I think you have the ability to set up screens, you got Nasty Plot, you probably have Calm Mind as well. Pretty sure you also get Baton Pass. Which in League format, depending on the rules, can actually be quite nice. I know you're saying base 90 isn't the fastest, but base 90 on a Baton Pass mod is quite nice. So there is a chance for you to, you know, pass on Calm Mind or Nasty Plot, or I'm pretty sure it gets Meditate as well, so if you're going to go on about Sharpen, I'm going to go on about Meditate, Mr. Mime. And I'm not sure what his physical move pool is, but it's probably terrible as well. But, you know, Mr. Mime has definitely got scope to be, you know, more useful in League format than Carbink. With regards to, I've forgotten what it's called, Slurpuff, that's the one, that's how irrelevant it is. But, you know, in League format, it can be good. Obviously, I think Gareth pretty much covered it off. While it is quite one-dimensional, obviously, you can get screwed over. From one simple, you know, belly drum, or, you know, there's the Calm Mindset. It's got a decent move pool. It's probably got a better move pool than Carbink offensively. I mean, that probably can't be that hard to beat. So yeah, while I can see why Slurpuff will be quite one-dimensional, obviously what it does pretty well if you're not prepared for it either. Whereas I think the Carbink argument they've raised is pretty pointless because it's just a stupid bug.
Okay, Carbink is just a plain stupid rock. And yeah, Tom, what do you got to say of Slurpuff? Why is it worse than the other people are making it, or why are the other two better?
I'm gonna pick on a formality here real quick, but how can you say that Dene can't be picked because it doesn't have a pre-evolution, but we can pick Carbink when it doesn't evolve from anything, whereas at least I evolve from Swirlix and Mr. Mime evolves from Mr. Mime Jr., but Carbink doesn't evolve from anything, yet we're arguing that it's the best fully evolved. Fully evolved! Fairy. Anyway, that's my argument for that, because I think without that, this argument becomes a lot more difficult, because we have to pick between Mr. Mime, Slurpuff, and probably Aromatisse, but...
I would have said Wigglytuff over Aromatisse.
Okay, yeah. Wigglytuff. Alright. I go to Aromatisse, because I think it's... Anyway. But I think that Carbink... That's my argument because that just bothers me. And then Mr. Mime, I with Technician and seeing it in the lower, the lower tiers, like taking the UCL draft format for example, where they actually pick outside of a specific for like Smogon tier. Obviously, that's not the case with the PPL or the GBA, but in that situation, Mr. Mime could be drafted. I don't see Slurpuff get drafted or used or brought to a match. It's kind of just on the roster going, cool, that's a fairy. So yeah, that's my argument for that. Kind of weak, but we run with it, boys. Carbink shouldn't have been allowed in this.
There we go. Accusing now me for this round. I see you. That's definitely a negative point I have on my list for you, but okay, these were the second round. Yeah, we go into the last part of this round. Any last words for anything? Why is anything good or bad, basically? Let's start with Gareth.
Right, so Jack mentioned that it's got the potential to Baton Pass and to set up nasty plots, but the things that it will set up nasty plot on more than likely will kill it off anyway because it's a Mr. Mime.
Unless it's a Carbink.
Unless it's a Carbink. I mean, Explosion will probably kill. But yeah, I've pretty much said all I can say. It fills a niche that it can't fill properly.
Okay, there we go. Any last words on Carbink?
They're talking about this kind of sturdy, cussed up Explosion. I expect Explosion probably the square root of 0 to something because it's pitiful attack stat. It does get a good move pool, I'll give it that, but it's so slow it can't use it. So whatever kind of, potential they're saying it has, I still don't have any faith in this. That's why I think it's worse. Especially when Mr. Mime can hit offensively, and while Slurpuff can also hit, and take some attacks as well. So that's why Carbink is terrible.
There we go. Carbink is terrible, and any last words on Slurpuff?
I got nothing. I have nothing.
Okay, he got nothing. He gave up basically. Okay, last round, worst fully evolved fairy type. Yeah, Tom said himself he gave up. Slurpuff is out of the round. Definitely the best out of the two. And between Mr. Mime and Carbink, I gotta say, after all the arguments, yeah, Carbink is definitely the worst. I can understand, like,
Rigged.
Yeah, it's so. Carbink is so bad. It was even questionable, even allowing that thing. I can agree on that. Did not think about that when I formulated the rules. I just thought about the Den for being terrible. But yeah, we live and die by our mistakes we make. And the good thing which this allows us is that we have an overall tie, which brings us into the speed round, which I definitely was not aiming for.
You planned for this, you cheeky man, you.
So, for all of you new guys out there, or basically for the people right here, right now as well, because some of them are not familiar with the speed round, I will reveal a fourth topic in a short amount of time after I finish this explanation. After that, you will all have a total of 30 seconds in which you just scream into your mic the pick you want to make. It's first come, first served. If you say a pick, no one else can get it. If you don't manage to make a pick in 30 seconds, you're out of this round and can't make the deciding point. After that, we will have all 3 parts we have last time, but each part will also be only 30 seconds long.
Oh god.
So, I will grab my my phone real quick to make a timer.
We're so professional.
And then we can start revealing the round. So, let's see, here's my phone app, let's start the timer.
Wow,
so, 30 seconds. Of course.
15 seconds?
Do you think I count seconds in my head? No. We live in the 21st century. We use our smartphone, that is, actually. But okay, the topic we are using is: who is the best monotype mon in League format?
What?
What?
Monotyped. Only one type.
Monotyped.
Crap.
10 seconds over. 15 seconds, halfway through.
What the hell?
Manaphy.
Oh no!
Manaphy.
Oh, I was gonna say that.
Fable.
Okay.
Damn it.
And last 5 seconds.
Shaman.
Shaman. There we go.
Couldn't think of anything.
Yeah, like basically all the base 100 fairies, Byron Victini, are on that list. Mew, all this good stuff. But okay, we got Shaman for Jack, Clefable for Tom, and Manaphy for Gareth. Let's start with Gareth. You said it yourself the first time. 30 seconds on why Manaphy is the best right now.
I mean, you said so yourself. It's one of the Pixies, base 100 everything, versatility in spades. Tailglow, Carmine, both are stupidly scary sets to face. I mean, I've faced so many Manaphy's and lost to so many of them that I can't even count. So, Manaphy's a threat. That's all there is to it.
Okay, that is actually only 20 seconds. So let's start with Shaman next. Jack, why? Yeah, let's start Jack. Why not? Jack, Shaman, 30 seconds. Why?
Well, I wish I picked Mew now, but we'll go with Shaman. Seed Flare, very nice. Obviously, has a chance to lower special defense. It does get a nice move pool offensively. I think Air Slash, Earth Power. Obviously base 100 is nice, and it can also go offensive. Pretty sure it gets Swords Dance. It's a recurring theme. All my Pokemon seem to get Swords Dance. Obviously it has the chance to go bulky. It gets Synthesis and Leech Seed. I'm pretty sure it probably gets some cool moves like Aromatherapy. So nice. Cleric can be offensively. Grass is quite a nice defensive typing. That's why Shaman's pretty cool, but obviously I'm going to say don't.
That's all.
Shaman's stupid.
Okay, these are 30 seconds. Tom, 30 seconds on why is Clefable good?
Because it stops both Calm Mind and Tailglow Manaphy and Swords Dance Shaman and any setup, and it's bulky enough to also Calm Mind on its own, stop you from being annoying, setting up, doing anything. And once it gets like +3, enjoy taking this Moon Blast, assuming you have a Steel type or Poison type, that it's a Nidoqueen or a Scizor or something like that. But it's very good, and it's a Clefable, and tell me how much fun you have taking on Clefable in League format. Please tell me, I want to hear your arguments.
Ask Shadi.
Okay, these 28 seconds. Gareth, why is Manaphy better than the other two? Let's go.
Well, as Tom said, Manaphy and Clefable both get Carmine. Clefable, yes, is a bit of defensive Carmine, if you know what I mean, with the Magic Guard, but Manaphy is a scarier one to face because of the skull, because of the Rain Dance, and because of how its recovery works. Shaman, I think, is just out of the question in this one. While it is a decent mon, it doesn't compare to the other two.
Okay, 20 seconds to that. Jack, why actually has Shaman the right to be here?
It doesn't have a right, that's my argument.
Okay,
Wow.
Shaman is out of the argument. Jake gave up.
Convincing.
Jack gave up. Any argument, maybe, for the other two? Who is better, Clefable or Manaphy? You have 20 seconds left.
I've used Manaphy. I really enjoyed using that thing. Obviously, I think it's a bit easier to set up with. Clefable obviously has two great abilities, so I think it's hard to choose between because they do different things. That's my opinion.
Okay, that's very nice help from you, Jack. That's helpful.
So
Thanks for that.
political, it hurts.
Okay, Tom, why is Clefable better than, basically only Manaphy, because Shaman is basically out.
Right. So, Gareth came up with the fact that Clefable has Magic Guard. I was thinking more Unaware. That actually stops Manaphy, and based on team structure, if looking at a whole team versus just one Mon versus one Mon, yes, Manaphy would win. But if you're taking a team structure, you could look at how Manaphy would approach that game and think, well, is it going to be Tail Glow, or is it just going to be straight Specs or whatever, or just Life Orb? Clefable can adjust accordingly and take it on as it needs to, because I think it is a very good check to Manaphy, and yeah, it'll get burned, but it has reliable recovery.
30 seconds over.
Recovery!
Okay, Gareth, last words on Manaphy or Clefable, let's go.
Alright, so Manaphy, yes, is a mon that doesn't necessarily fit on most comps, but it is a bulky water, and generally bulky waters, the main ones to deal with them are fast electric types, which are very easily stopped by the Carmine. There's not really much that can OHKO it, and there's a lot that it can OHKO after the Tail Glow.
Okay, these were only 20 seconds,
Again.
and Tom, now you can, continue your rampage from last time. Let's go.
Reliable recovery. That's what I was finishing with. But Clefable, ask anyone who's played, in a league, how much fun is it to really take on a Clefable? Against Calm Mind, it's just overall annoying. It has decent coverage with Fire and Fairy to, hit Steel types. But it's really good. It's fat, it's annoying, and no one enjoys playing it against it. So why not enjoy using it and saying it's the best monotype mon in format?
And there we go. 30 seconds are over, and okay, now it's time to decide the winner. Like I said, Shaman is out. Jack himself gave already up with that pick. Not much confident in that one, it seems.
Panic pick.
Poor little,
I forgot
poor little
about
headshot guy.
I forgot about me.
So,
I'm right, you did.
so now it's between Manaphy and Clefable. Clefable definitely one of the best, if not the best fairy in League format, what most people would agree with, versus Manaphy, which is probably one of the best, if not the best, water type in League format. So, up for me to decide, or from the arguments you made, Gareth did go very on in detail with how threatening Manaphy is, be it the Calm Mind setup variant, be it the Tail Glow setup variant. That's basically all the arguments I heard from Gareth, but after, repeatedly,
Yeah, I kept
thinking
that 20 seconds was longer than it was, so I could sort of skip the bullet.
Okay, it gets Calm Mind and Tail Glow, that's very threatening. Versus Clefable, which I heard has Calm Mind as well, two great abilities in Magic Guard and Unaware. Of course, it's very annoying, everybody knows that. Tom did go a bit on the team structure thing with the fairy type of Clefable and stuff like that. So, I think, mon-wise, I would agree that Manaphy is probably better than Clefable, because Manaphy can actually beat Clefable 1v1, even if it's Unaware, just with Rain Dance up and stuff like that, because that does not affect Unaware. But that was not an argument Gareth made, so I can't count that. And yeah, so I want to give this point, just from the arguments, I will still give this point to Tom and Clefable.
Shoutouts to choking more than just my league games.
Choking Gareth is back once again, but yeah, congrats to Tom to winning the sixth Pincer Mania, I think it is. I hope I'm right.
I won something for once and not get beat on. Like I do
Congratulations.
There we go. Yes, this was the 6th Pincer Mania. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know in the comments, of course, if you agree with my decision, or if you agree with any picks made, or what would your pick be. All this good stuff, a lot to discuss from you. I'm always in for some input. Definitely check out all the channels and Twitter from all these fine gentlemen I had on this show right here. All the links will be, of course, in the description. Like you already heard in the intro, they're all in their respective leagues, so you can definitely expect some quality league content from their channels. If not at the moment, definitely in the future, because GBA is momentan on break in regards to Tom. But yeah, that's basically all from me. Any last words from any of you guys?
Yes,
I don't think
Rick.
my channel... Wait, what was that?
Not all at the same time.
I was going to say my channel's
Okay,
not
let's
worth
start.
looking at, but whatever.
Whatever. That's your opinion, Gareth. That's your opinion. That's a topic for. Yeah, that's a topic for a whole nother Pincer Mania.
Yeah, it should be the worst YouTube channel out there. That should have been the speed round. I would have won that easy.
No. No, I
Okay,
haven't
there
got
we
anything
go.
else to say.
I
Thank you for
guess we
having
should
me,
say.
Lars.
I guess we should say thanks, Lars. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Lars.
There we
Thank
go.
you, Lars.
That's basically what I wanted to hear. That's why I gave you the word right here.
The good old ego
Still
boost.
check out Gareth's channel. He has some fun edits in his videos, even if he's choking them. But yeah, that's all from me and all these guys. I will see you another time. Yeah. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.